Hello, my name is Mark and welcome to I'm Organic Gardening. I'm located in Zone 6B and today I'm going to show you how to build a raised gardening bed. Now this bed is different than other ones that you've seen before. The purpose of this is that I wanted to come up with something that people could easily garden and enjoy gardening through the process of the whole season. Now also I want you to add sand, silt, and clay in this bed. So that's why I made it very strong, and in this reasoning that the side boards here, the 8-foot long boards here, will not bow out and give you a great garden bed that will last several years. It is amazing, it's a simple design, it's easy to do, and the rest of the video is going to show you how it's done. This raised bed measures 21 inches tall, 8 feet long and 4 feet wide, and the board here goes on the inside. I've been asked over the years to come up with a raised bed design that's comfortable for people to use all the time because they love to garden so much. Now also in this raised bed, the advantage to it is that you won't need any kind of center support to stop the boards from bowing outwards on the inside of the bed. So let's start looking at the left hand side of the raised bed first. I have two 2x8s by 8 feet long, and then I have 2x4s on the bottom, 2 sandwiched in the middle, and 1 on top. What that does, those 2x4s, gives those boards strength so they don't bow outwards. So let me show you the inside view, and then you'll get a better idea what I'm speaking of. Now here's an inside view, and you can see that the boards are laying down flat, and they're attached. The screws are attached every foot on the top here on this board, and also on the bottom board, and also on this board, and again on the bottom board. And it's making a I-beam effect, in which, you know, I-beams in construction, they don't twist and they don't bend, and they're very sturdy. Now I moved over to the right hand side of the bed because I mentioned there's two designs. Now this one is more of what we call an I-beam design. And you can see here again the 2x8s are sitting on the bottom like so here, and then the boards actually protrude outwards a little bit on each side, giving you a little bit more of a design. But it creates this I-beam. Again, those boards are fastened on top and bottom every foot. Now we're looking on the inside of the right hand side, and you can see that I-beam effect also here too. Now the boards don't go out as far as on the left because it's flush, but this also will create a strong board. When that pressure goes to push outwards, those 2x4s are going to stay in place because they're pushing in the opposite direction. Those boards are secured and are strong and are meant to be strong in an opposite direction. So the ease of building this is that there's two sections here. Each section is the same, and they just slide together like so. When we're all done, we build a section at a time, we lift it into place like so, line everything up. And then now here's a view on the inside. We just place a screw again every foot, and it's all secure. So now we have your typical 4 feet by 8 foot long raised bed that's been around for probably the last 10-15 years or so. Now it's easy to make and simple, but I want to improve it because I don't want the boards, because we're going to raise this up another, let's say 10 inches or a foot, and we want to go up to about, say, 20 inches tall. We can even go 30 inches tall. Each segment is going to be about 10 inches in height. So what I want to do is we're going to fill this up with real soil in the future. I don't want this board to bow outwards. And when we go, the higher we go, the stronger the soil is going to push on the ends. Now there's two other gardening channels that do a very good job explaining this. One was 1 Yard Revolution, the other one's the gardening channel with JP. Now, we're going to use that same kind of, let's say, we're going to put a 2x4 on the top of each side here and on the ends so it doesn't bow out. But I'm also going to do, I'm not going to just do 2x4s on top, I'm also going to do on the bottom. I'm going to create like something called an I-beam. And that's going to, if you ever see in building construction, an I-beam is very strong. It doesn't twist and it doesn't bend. So we're going to do the same kind of situation, but we're going to put a 2x4 on top and a 2x4 on bottom. And that 2x4 is going to give us our strength so it doesn't twist. So here you can see clearly the growth rings here, and see how they're cupping inwards? We want that to cup inwards because when we apply a screw here and here, we're only going to apply 2 of them, it's going to pull that closer to the other board because the pressure wants this board here to cup like so, almost in a semicircular shape or moon shape. So we want the rings to go back into the board, start at the top and go back in. And we also want to do the same thing here too on this corner that's going to be applied and you can't see it. We want those rings to face inwards. We're going to start from the top and go back in. And if you don't do it this way and you flip it around the opposite way, the board is going to make a C shape this way, and this is going to peel out and the bottom is going to peel out. So since our board is 1.5 inches thick, we want to go in 3/4 of the way in our side board. So I'm going to measure in 3/4 of an inch, which is right here, like so. I'm just going to scratch a little mark there on both ends. And then we're going to line it up like so. Just do a nice little scratch across the top. And we know where 3/4 of an inch is. So now I'm going to measure up from the bottom 2.5 inches like so, and I'll explain why later. And we go here like this, and then the other way we'll go 2.5 inches like so, and then we have our 2 pre-drill hole points here. Now I'm going to take a 3/16 drill and just pre-drill it through the board. These we don't have the countersink, just like in my other video. We're going to use fender washers that's going to make it 10 times stronger. But I also want to notice here is that, let me get a better angle for you. You can see here, let me hold this board still. Right here you can see it's cracking already. Boards normally will crack. They're not going to crack fully apart, but you can see the crack there. And also, no, it's not on the back side here yet. But pre-drilling those holes are going to help. No matter what board you buy, they will eventually crack on the corners here. So don't worry about it. That's why we're using those fender washers. The screw we're going to be using is a 3-inch long deck make screw, and it's rust free. And we're also going to use a fender washer on the end to give it more surface area. I know a lot of people will just use this as a area on the surface, but you can see a board is already cracking, not because I screwed anything in yet. Is it because boards normally do crack in between or in between every section? So we're going to give it more surface area so we're not worried about any cracking in the future, like so. Make sure everything levels up, like so. Tap that in, remove my bit that fell out. Here's the dimension for the fender washer. They're 3/8 by 1 1/4. And we'll finish out the bottom one. Beautiful. And now we're going to do that on every corner. And the reason why I came up 2.5 inches on both sides, you'll see later in the video. And we're going to make that top edge stronger. I'm talking this one here and also the bottom one. Top and bottom is very strong with something new that you probably haven't seen on YouTube before. Now this is our typical raised bed that we're known to use out in our garden. That's 4 feet by 8 feet by 7.5 inches tall. Now I want to improve this so we don't have the bowing of the sides over here on this end and this end. And I want to make it stronger. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to measure in from the end 2 feet, 24 inches, and I'm just going to make a mark here like so, and then we're going to also check and go in 3/4 of an inch, like so, and that's going to be my first hole here that I'm going to pre-drill. Now on this particular thing, I'm going to pre-drill with a countersinking bit here. This is 3/16, and here's our countersinking bit. And so I also measured from the tip of the drill bit to the countersinking here, where it just applies a countersinking. That's going to be about 1.5 inches total. Now the reason I'm using countersinking here instead on the ends is because when I put that screw in here, I want this to be flush, because I'm going to take this bed and build another one on top, and I don't want anything protruding. And again, go in 2 feet, and I'll explain why later that you need that 2 feet distance on your first screw on both ends. Now I'll apply the screw like so. So on this raised bed, I'm going to show you 2 different examples. On the left-hand side here, we have the board flush with the end board. And on the right-hand side, we have an I-beam effect. Now, I believe both are going to work just fine, because the engineering property of those 2x4s on top here will not let that board bow outwards, because you're using the strength of 2 boards, one on top and one on the bottom, like an I-beam. And you can't twist that 2x4 to bend it outwards when you have soil. Plus our length is 8 feet long. I don't wish you to have to go any further, like 10 feet or 12 feet. It's just not going to help the situation. Your boards are going to bow outwards. Now we're going to measure both our ends and cut our 2x4s appropriately and put it there. And then also too, I'm going to be using what is called a tie plate, and I'll show you that shortly. So what we have here is something called a tie plate. Now, they sell them in the construction department next to your lumber, and we're going to set that on top here, and we're going to use the center hole here to go into the board that's going lengthwise, and we're not going to use the other second hole here. We're going to move it so this little tiny hole, the first one, goes into our sideboard. So we're going to set that up properly like so, and the holes are the same dimension as your drill bit you've been using to pre-drill everything. So we're going to just pre-drill in this same spot here until we hit the bottom board. Like so. Then we're just going to take a screw and just temporarily put it in that hole like so it doesn't move on us. And then we're going to go back over to this other side here. We're going to use the very first hole here towards the outer edge, and we're going to drill that one to go into our sideboard. Okay. So we remove the plate. Now we're going to go back and we're going to countersink these. Like so the screw doesn't stick up, because we're going to add wood onto the top. And now that's why we put our first screw back 2 feet, so we can lift this up a little bit and then slide this plate underneath. Now it's going to take a little finessing to line up the holes, but it is possible and easily done. To make this simple, I just took a screwdriver and pried up the board a little bit, and then I recessed the board down so you can just see the screw coming out the bottom. And now you take your tie plate with the correct hole, which is the middle one here on the end, and just look around, and it just slides on it that easily. And then you can take your screwdriver or apply a little pressure to it, or you can use your drill and just drill it in a little bit. Now that you have the first tie plate hole secured, this is very flexible and can move everywhere because it's locked in with that screw. Now you're going to take that and line that up in the center of the board here, like so. And you're going to use that first screw here, or screw hole. Now we have the other length of metal going into our sideboard, so I just forward the screw a little bit, and we're just going to lightly tack it in place because we still have to do the other end. Like so. And then we can do, when we do the other end, we can see that we can get the holes lined up and put the tie plate in. That tie plate is going to hold this section and this section together almost like using a high adhesive glue to make it all bond together. And it's going to last the lifetime of the raised bed that we have here. It's doing very well. We're going to be using tie plates on both top and bottom to give it a very secure fit. Now we have our metal plate in here. Now we're going to go down the length of the board and we're going to put a new screw in the center all the way down every foot. So now to increase our height on our raised bed, we're going to take the same design and build another one the same exact size and height, like so. And we're just going to put it on top, like here. Again, we're going to put a screw in every foot on the top board and on the bottom boards, so nice and strong. We're going to screw both the top section to the bottom section on the inside, and it's all set to go. Now here's a view on the inside. We just place a screw, again, every foot, and it's all secure. I want to thank you so very much for watching today's video. If there's any kind of questions you have, please ask. I might have left something out that isn't so easy to understand, or I missed a point that is very important for you to understand how to build it. So leave a comment below, and I thank you very much for, again, watching today. And if you can, like and share it, would be very helpful. The wood quality I got was not what I expected, but I'm surprised even the stores were open that I can get it. It's been about 3 weeks trying to get lumber for me right now. Thanks very much, and I'll see you again shortly with another video.